The Big 12 Experience final predictions for the 2024 season edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome everybody into the Big 12 College Experience for the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Tuesday, August the 27th, 16 previews down. And now all we need to do is give out our final predictions for the Big 12 Championship in Dallas and our final season projections. The games are here, finally. No more preview season, thank God. First off, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And we're talking Big 12. So, first up, a walking contradiction because he was born in Provo, Utah. He's got family in Ames, Iowa. He lives in Morgantown, West Virginia. Co-host of the Ryan and Rush Show, Rambling Rush. Rush, Cougars 12-0?
No, but maybe West Virginia. Just adding one caveat to what you said. Final predictions. We have our final West Virginia predictions on the Ryan and Rush Show on Thursday. So my West Virginia scenario right now is just how I feel right now. I'm giving myself a 48 hours to digest what I'm going to say on this show. So everyone check out our final West Virginia predictions Thursday on the Ryan and Rush Show. We just had the athletic director, Rim Baker, on too. So check out everything we're doing there. Troy was on Sunday talking some Oklahoma State. So, hey, it's that time of year, the greatest time of the year, most wonderful time of the year. Let's go Big 12.
Yes, it is. Let's go. Hey, and third man in the box, you guys know him because he's always fighting a family civil war among all these Big 12 schools, whether in Stillwater, Fort Worth, Waco, Orlando, Cincinnati. He is the Big 12 guru, a.k.a. the green mow and weed growing Troy Chewning. Troy, I know you're probably going to be high on your pokes.
I may have been a little more realistic than our Oklahoma State prediction show.
Really?
Just slightly. But yeah, going through all these teams and trying to get the records right makes me realize that counting to 12 is pretty fucking hard, and I don't like to do that. Like maybe if I had an extra finger on each hand, it would make it easier, but I can get to 10 fine. After that, I got to start taking off my shoes and socks in order to make it any kind of accurate. So this was a head spinner for sure.
No doubt. And by the way, everybody, there will be 72 wins in conference play, 72 losses. So, it's not as easy as it looks because a lot of people will just go, they're 7-5 or 8-4, give them 5-4 in the league. Well, no, you actually have to add it up because there can't be 74 wins and 70 losses. So you got to map it out. You actually got to be precise with this exercise, but it's fun and we love it. And hopefully we can get the winner. Last year we did not get the winner. Unfortunately, horns down. Finally won the Big 12 for the first time in 2 decades. Oklahoma State was close, 40-1, but hey, sneak peek. They might make another run at it here, baby. Gundy. All right, real quick before we get on over to our team by team final predictions, the Big 12 Experience right here is brought to you by the merch store. You see this sick ass hat? 10% off with the promo code football. Get on over there, get yourself an Eat Shit Pit shirt. Cincinnati fans, week 2. That's a W for you. Rock an Eat Shit Pit shirt via me, baby. Get on over there. College football is here. Week 1 is on the horizon, and let's go. All right, let's get into it, and I think we should go 16-1 and break it down. Rush, I will let you kick it off with your final predictions for the Big 12, except for West Virginia.
There you go. Well, I'll say what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
It's going to lean a win or loss one way or another on our show. So we're within where I want to be. Leading off at 16. Welcome to the Big 12. A long way to go. Don't hate this program. Glad you're a part of it. Arizona State, still a long way to go. 3-9 overall, 1-8 in Big 12 play, leading us to the Glue Factory at 15. Betrayed me last year, so you're going to the bottom of the list. Baylor Bears, 4-8 overall, 2-7 in the Big 12. I think Aranda's fired midseason. I'm going to sprinkle first coach fired in college football. Number 14, which this is actually pretty good for him. Houston Cougars, Willie Fritz, 5-7, 3-6 in Big 12 play. We all feel it here that he could come on late in the season. He's won everywhere he's been at. Houston's going to be a team football-wise that's going to be in contention within the next 5 years here. And I think it starts year one. And if they're 5-7, that's a great start for the Houston Cougars. Every team after this, bowl eligible, baby. Coming in, TCU, 6-6, 4-5 in Big 12 play. I think they kind of get back to the middle, right? They overperformed 2 years ago, underperformed last year, find their way back to bowl eligibility. I think Sonny Dykes has a few question marks around him, but overall a solid coach. So he continues. Number 12, Colorado. I think they make bowl eligibility. I know Colorado fans could be happy with that. Maybe if you're a Deion fan, you want, at least 8-4. But I mean, that's pretty good. And I think there's a lot of questions too with Deion. Can he coach with these other top coaches in the league? We still need to see it, but they have a very solid team. Concerns about maybe some depth, but Colorado back to bowl eligibility. And believe it or not, Cincy, I'm giving you a shout out at 6-6 as well. Not a fan of Satterfield, but you don't have Emory Jones there anymore. So you get rid of half the problem at least. Schedule's looking a lot better this year. If they can clean it up in the red zone a bit, they'll be just fine. Number 10, BYU Cougars, 6-6 this year. Prova's a hard place to play. I see some upsets coming. Underperformed last year, led off the season 5-2, lost their last, 5 games. I think they clean it up a little bit this year. Going next to the very shiny Knights at UCF, 7-5 overall, 5-4 in Big 12 play. KJ Jefferson, I think, is going to make a big difference for them. If hopefully he can stay healthy. Really curious how this UCF team is going to play. I think they're going to get a little worn down later in the season when the cold weather starts hitting and they have to go to Morgantown, for example. But 7-5, solid record for UCF. Arizona, a little bit. I have them 7-5 as well. I think they overperformed last year. I think they're going to underperform a little bit this year. I think Brennan is going to be a great coach and is a good fit for them. They got to just figure out a couple things still. So I think they settle back in, going 5-4 in the Big 12. Next, we got Texas Tech, 8-4. I think this is the year after the year, right? Joey McGuire gets back to 8 wins. Their schedule is fantastic too for them. And I think Texas Tech is going to be a solid contender this year. Next, OK State, Gundy, 8-4 as well. Overperformed a little bit last year. Let's see how Bowman does this year with playing the whole season. Obviously, they have Ollie Gordon in the backfield. I feel like Gundy's at least good for 8 games. But I think there's a little bit of regression this year. So I'll put OK State 8-4, 5-4 in the Big 12. I have them with Kansas as well, 8-4. They don't have that true home field advantage this year. There's also questions with Jalen Daniels. And is he injured? Is he going to have the whole season? Leipold's a great coach. They got their schedule's not bad either, but they do have a couple tough ones as well. I think 8-4 would be a solid for Kansas this year. But we were going over their schedule the other day. Definitely could be wrong there. Getting now to the nitty gritty. This is where I have the good old Mountaineers for now, 9-3, actually 6-3 in Big 12 play. So what does that tell you? Yep, I'm expecting to win against Penn State here Saturday. Also expecting to win against Eat Shit Pitt up in Pittsburgh. 9-3 would be an amazing season for West Virginia, especially if you go 3-0 in the conference. And, it's just you have those 5 Goliath of a Big 12 games to open up the Big 12 season. So that's going to be tough there. I also have Iowa State going 9-3 as well, 6-3 in Big 12 play. So Matt Campbell, obviously returning all those players, should be really good. Ames is a very tough place to play at. Curious how they'll stack up against Iowa. And those last 2 games of the season against Kansas State and Utah will kind of be like a quarterfinal, semifinal game for them. leading us to the other two. It kills me, but it is what it is. I try to be as non-biased as possible. Utah at 10-2. And I think those 2 losses come from Big 12 play as well. Cam Rising comes back. Whittingham's really good. I could see this being Whittingham's last year, giving it all he has, putting everything he has into Utah this year. And then I think they would take a step back following Whittingham's departure. I know there's a coach in waiting and all that great stuff. We'll see. But Utah 10-2, and rounding out the top, Kansas State at 11-1. I think they're the best team. I think they're absolutely incredible. Kansas State, Klieman, looking forward to what Avery Johnson's capable of. And there's no reason if they don't stay healthy in the way that they are, that they shouldn't be at least in the Big 12 championship again this year. So that's what I have, boys.
Let's go. All right. So you have K-State, Utah in your title game. Troy, break it down. What you got for these teams finishing up?
All right. Well, I gave up on the 72-72 because I was really just looking at this from record compared to win total, kind of using Vegas's line to, if I feel like a team is 2 or 3 games off of the Vegas line, I'm kind of looking for another win there just because I'm thinking that they know more than we do, just a tad. So I've got overall records and kind of compared them to their win totals. And I have Arizona State down on the bottom at 3-9 this year too. I really only see, 2 of those first 3 non-con games as like possible wins for them. And then maybe like UCF or BYU late in the year. I don't know if they're going to be able to go on the road to Cincinnati and get one. But out of those 3 games, I did decide to give them one. And trying to figure out exactly which one I'm going to give. I tried to do that last year and really fucked it up. I think my overall record, I had like 6 more wins than losses or something like that when we did this last year. So that exercise was a failure. And that would put them at their under mark there. Behind them or ahead of them, I have Houston at 4-8. I kind of see Houston picking up a win or 2 late with those Baylor and BYU games. I know BYU's a little tougher, but like we said, Willie Fritz, as the season goes on, they've got a stretch of Kansas, Utah, K-State, and Arizona that are all ranked right now. And I feel like Willie Fritz is going to be able to find a way to win one of those games. So I have them at 4-8, and this is going to make Rush sad too, but I have BYU down at 4-8 as well. I know when we did the main show, I gave out the BYU under at 4.5, and nobody else agreed. Their schedule is just pretty rough. I mean, the only break they get in between their stretch of Arizona, OK State, Utah, and Kansas is going on the road to the moon bounce. That's not a very, very nice schedule they got there. So I have them at 4-8 on their under as well. Cincinnati at 5-7. They're at 5.5. I see Cincinnati getting off to a pretty quick start and then kind of coming back down to earth as they get into conference play. I wouldn't be surprised if Cincinnati's one of those teams that is lower in the Big 12 with an overall record that's better than some of the teams that are down in the basement just because they're able to win a couple of non-con games and get themselves off to a nice little cushion before playing some of the tougher teams in the conference. I also have Baylor at 5-7 on the under on their 5.5. Would not be surprised, like Rush said, if Aranda is out of there. I know they are pretty excited about Daquan Finn, and it seems like Spavital is going to give the offense a little bit of a push. But again, I just don't see too much excitement around this Baylor program, which is funny because right above them, I have Colorado also at 5-7, which is kind of the opposite of what you hear from the Baylor program right now. You're hearing that Colorado they're primed to make a run, pun intended. And I don't think they're primed to make a run. I'm pretty heavy on their under 5.5. Even if it's just for the Colorado fans that are watching to get pissed off, fuck you. Above them, I have TCU also on their under at 7.5. I have them at 6-6. This was one that was not typically a game and a half off the number from Vegas. And I don't know. I feel like the first Sonny Dykes year is going to be the outlier compared to everything else. Everyone's expecting Sonny Dykes to kind of get back to that level of at least competing, not necessarily, they go 12-0, but they win a bunch of one-score games that year and everything kind of bounces their way. I don't know if you're ever going to get that again, but I'm almost thinking that you might not even get that level of compete from Sonny Dykes. I could see him being looked at as maybe moved on from at Texas Christian. I don't know if it would come during the season or anything like that, but just not too high on TCU. Above them, I have Iowa State at 6-6 too, which is kind of surprising. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong on this one. This is not at the 7.5 number. Even looking at their schedule and seeing 6-6, that's usually a pull the trigger for me. Like, oh, I have a game and a half of buffer. I'm typically going to play this under. Because Matt Campbell's in there, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of these teams that we're expecting to be at the top of the league fall to Iowa State occasionally, and you see him get to that 7-5 or that 8-4 number. None of that would be surprising coming out of Ames. It's just it's kind of like a mini Kansas State, and I know they probably don't want to hear that because it's Farmageddon, but the way that the programs are run are just, we're going to churn out winning hard-nosed football teams on a regular basis. So that one, my conviction on it is kind of off. I feel like I want to go with Rush on the Iowa State being way better than we expect, but I'm scared of the Texas Tech Baylor glue factory coming into play for Iowa State here. Obviously, they wouldn't be that bad as those two teams were, but I don't know. The 7.5 just seems like kind of a stretch for them to get to 8 whenever I keep looking at their schedule. I see Tech at 7-5, along with West Virginia at 7-5. I think West Virginia will have a couple of conference losses, like Rush said. I didn't necessarily give them the win in that Penn State game. I just decided to have them go 2-1 overall in the non-con for a conservative standpoint there. I know the Pittsburgh game, even though they're not a great football team, it's on the road, which, West Virginia is right around the corner, but that's just, those rivalry games. Even when there seems to be a team that's significantly better, there's always some kind of bullshit that's going on or some stupid holding penalty that 2.5 quarters later you're trying to score a touchdown instead of kick a field goal because the fucking referee puts you 10 yards out of position on a hold on the other side of the field or something stupid like that. Their stretch with Iowa State in between Kansas, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Arizona, you just gotta hope. I mean, they get a bye after the Kansas game, right? They go Kansas bye, State, and then they have a bye before the road game in Stillwater. It's probably a pretty good time for them to get their bye, especially if they're able to beat Penn State like you guys are expecting. It would be a very good position for them to not, get overly inflated if they were to go, 3-1 or 4-0 to start off the season. But they hit, this rough stretch. Iowa State, even though they're playing them in Morgantown, is still, I would still say that's a toss-up game. I do see them finishing conference play really strong. I think they're going to be able to beat Cincinnati on the road, Baylor, UCF, and I think they can probably beat Texas Tech on the road too. So maybe they get pushed up to that 8-4 mark, but again, they're only 6.5 on the win total, right? I know I gave out the under when we were doing the main show, but this is one that I think I'm going to Benedict and play the over actually instead of think that it's an under and not play it. I think I'm going to Benedict myself and play the over on West Virginia this year. Above them, I have UCF at 8-4. I did have to put Florida in there as a possible loss, even though on the preview show, I gave them a, 18-point win or something like that. A little bit unrealistic, riding the UCF hype train, trying to get the shiny Golden Knights fans, which, by the way, the comment section on the YouTube video, the main channel did the UCF preview. The comment section is fucking hilarious. The Knights fans are not happy with Colby. but gold is still your color. So you are the Gold Knights. There's no way around it. Sorry, guys. Between on the road at Florida and West Virginia and then going to Ames and having Utah on the schedule, I just went ahead and gave them those 4 losses to be conservative. Still at 8-4, they hit that over 7.5, which that's a bet that most of us feel pretty confident in making, which kind of weird to be looking at UCF in a Power 5 conference and saying, we think Gus can get them 8 wins, but they do have the team makeup that seems like they could take a step forward this year. Above them, I have Arizona at 8-4. They're back-to-back with Utah and Kansas State. I couldn't even give them 1 win out of those 2. Definitely not winning the second game, I don't think, after playing a hard-nosed Utah team and then having to go play a just as hard-nosed Kansas State team. And then at UCF and at BYU later in the year, I think that's going to be a tough game for Arizona to go to BYU later on and try to play, a super fast, big play style offense. Feel like that's a chance for them to slip up. So I went ahead and gave them a loss to BYU as well at 8-4. I think on the preseason preview, I had them 9-3, but I didn't have them losing to BYU. So I went ahead to be conservative and still came up over the 7.5. Above them, I have Kansas going 9-3 in the most important season in Kansas football where you don't get to play a single home game. Way to go. Whoever decided to do that's a fucking dumbass. This is a Kansas squad that we would be looking at some of these games completely different if they were actually playing at home, right? Like, you got to think there's at least one more win on the schedule if these games are on campus, like we saw last year, that Oklahoma game. We know it can get bonkers. We've seen the basketball fans at Kansas go nuts and camp out and get everybody all hyped up. But I think, with Kansas State, Iowa State, at BYU, and West Virginia, out of those 4 games, I decided to give them a 1-1 between Iowa State and on the road at BYU. I don't know necessarily which one they'll win and lose, but 9-3 seems. I keep coming up with 8-4 or 9-3 for them, and you can get their number right now at an 8 instead of the 8.5, and maybe take a little bit of juice off just in case you push, which I would suggest doing. I feel like Jalen's going to play the whole year. The guy that we're worried about, the injury dudes that we're worried about between him and what's the Utah guy, Cam Rising? I feel like those guys, it's going to be somebody else that gets hurt that we're not expecting, and the ones that everybody's looking out and like waiting for them to get injured are going to be able to make it through the year. And then up at the top, I have a 3-way 10-2. I did also note that Utah has a pretty good chance at going 11-1, with the 2 most threatening games for them being Oklahoma State and UCF. But even if you give them both of those losses, 10-2 is still hitting their 9.5 over, which I know it's a big number, but it feels like Utah has the team makeup to come into the Big 12 and physicality wise compete right off the bat. Kansas State at 10-2. I'm worried about that West Virginia game. I feel like that'll be, rock fight. There's a chance that West Virginia kind of hangs around and has the ability to win that game. And then between Arizona and Oklahoma State, I don't know if they'll win both of those. Again, like we said on the preview, if they do win both Arizona and Oklahoma State, you got to think that they're at least in the Big 12 championship if they're able to win both of those games right off the bat without, something detrimental occurring. And then OK State also at 10-2. Same 3 teams that worry me, Utah, K-State, and then they play West Virginia. But even if you give them all 3 of those losses at 9-3, you can find their number at 8 as well, with a little bit less juice and 8.5, and give yourself a whole game's worth of cushion and probably still hit that over. So have they released any of the tiebreakers yet?
No, they'll do that later. But hopefully it's only 2.
Yeah, we can. We could really get ourselves into an issue here. There's a chance that we've got a 4-team tie at the top too. So
big time.
Things could get real weird. Yeah, like what if UCF doesn't beat Florida, but instead wins another conference game? They're throwing their hat in there, conference record-wise, up near the top. Could be weird. Arizona could hit, on all cylinders, and that offense could still be rolling and win a couple more games than we expect. But yeah, I also, Rush mentioned it. He had 13 bowl teams. I have 10. To be honest, I would say 11 is probably a safer number with Colorado going over their 5.5, but go fuck yourself. I can't give you 6, 5, and 7. Sorry, Colorado. Yeah, anything else that's like, I feel as if the TCU 7.5 might be a safe play to hit the under on pretty hard.
So, Troy, what's your Big 12 championship? Gun to your head.
Gundy.
Verse.
Yeah, who's playing in your Big 12 title game?
I feel like Oklahoma State gets Utah, and that ends up being the big tiebreaker, and we get OK State and K-State.
Hey, we're saving for the end. Who you got winning? Real quick, because I got to give out mine.
No, that was a regular season. That was a regular season win that gives them the tiebreaker. Is what I was talking about.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right. Real quick, we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy over here. Use our promo code TCESGPM. We'll give out a lineup on Thursday, and claim your special pick and first time deposit. Offer up to $1,000 bonus in cash. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. All right, let's get into it. I'll give out mine. I'll go 16. I had 12 bowl eligible teams. And leading it off, I got Arizona State at 3-9, 2-7 in league play. Just think that their schedule sucks. I mean, I actually don't think that they're as bad as everybody's making it out, but that's an impossible schedule. I got Willie Fritz overachieving, coming on late, 4-8 to get on that over 3.5 that I gave out. So Willie Fritz and the Cougs get better and better. 4-8 for me. I got 2 5-7 teams finishing 3-6 in league play. I got BYU. I think I don't like their roster. I don't like their quarterback. I'm not a big Sataki guy. And I think their schedule sucks. Back-to-back road spots in the non-con didn't do them any favors. So I got BYU going 5-7 back-to-back years to start Big 12 play. And then I'm with you, Troy. I got Colorado 5-7, 3-6 in Big 12 play. I don't know. Where's this team going to be at mentally by the end of the year? So, yeah, they got talent.
Chad G. Suck it, Chad G.
No doubt. And I just think that they have so many question marks. 5-7, and a lot of question marks headed into the offseason for the loud-ass Colorado Buffaloes. My 6-6 team, the Bearcats of Cincinnati, get back to a bowl game under Satterfield. 3-6 in league play, so they start 3-0. They take care of business in the non-con. And then this is where it's good. I got 5 teams at 7-5, all at 5-4 in league play. I'll do the ones that I think everybody's a little higher on, that I think underachieve. Kansas 7-5, Iowa State 7-5, Arizona 7-5, and UCF 7-5. I think all those have expectations. I wouldn't be shocked if they got to the Big 12 title, but I just think that their schedules are not favorable, and each team has a little bit of some question marks. So 7-5, right in the middle, 5-4 in league play. And then my overachiever in the 7-5 club, the Baylor Bears. Sick 'em, baby. Dave Aranda back against the wall. Brings over Spat. I can't pronounce his name right now. Spat. Why am I drawing a blank on our former offensive coordinator, Rush?
Spavital.
Hey. Spavital. Yeah. I was going to say Spatinol, and I was like, no. Spavital. Daquan Finn coming over. I like the Bears this year. And then another team I think is going to overachieve that everybody's down on. I got TCU at 8-4. I think it's right in between year 1, year 2 of the Sonny Dykes era. So 8-4, 5-4 in league play. And then this is where it gets good. I got Texas Tech and West Virginia both at 8-4, 5-4 in league play. I think Texas Tech keeps West Virginia out of the Big 12 title game. So unfortunately, I had to go with guns up in the last week in Lubbock. And then I think UCF will keep Utah out of the Big 12 title game because I think Utah finishes 9-3. Same with Oklahoma State. So they tie 9-3, 6-3 in league play. Oklahoma State gets the tiebreaker because they beat them in week 4 in Stillwater. And then wrapping it up, I got K-State. I think they're the best team in the league. 11-1, 8-1 in league play. Their one loss coming in Morgantown in the middle of October. So K-State, Oklahoma State for the third straight year for me in my title game. So
there you go.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. One of them's going to get there. So K-State, OK State. Troy has
that as well.
Yeah, you have the same one. And then Rush has K-State and Utah. So Rush, I will actually let me get us paid one last time. Because over at the College Experience, we're brought to you by Rhythm. Get your model created now, baby. Mine at Georgia Tech on Saturday. That was an easy win. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. All right, we are back over here at the Big 12 College Experience talking futures. All right, title game, Utah versus Kansas State for Rush. Who you got winning it?
I think this is the perfect scenario and what the Big 12 wants to get two teams in the playoff. I think Kansas State is, I don't want to say by far the best team in the Big 12, but they're a solid team. History's on their side. Klieman's an incredible coach. If Avery Johnson can just even play 80% of his ceiling, I mean, that's unbelievable. The only concern is on the reverse with Avery Johnson is his ability to pass, but it seems like they're not too worried about it. I think Kansas State beats Utah, but because of this setup, I think Utah, because of their name coming over from the Pac-12 and, you know, how the networks do like Utah, they're able to get that 11 seed in the college football playoff. Kansas State with either that 3 or 4 seed. And we got two Big 12 teams that make the college football playoff, with Kansas State being the winner of the Big 12.
Troy?
Well, I also have K-State and Oklahoma State like Rush, and I want to take Oklahoma State, but it feels like Avery Johnson, or like Ryan. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah.
K-State and OK State. But I feel like Avery Johnson is going to be the guy that Oklahoma State has an issue getting after and actually being able to get to the ground, and that's kind of the X factor in the Big 12 championship game, compared to Alan Bowman standing there like Drew Bledsoe and just getting fucking rocked. I'm going to go ahead and take K-State, and I think that would mean that there's only one team from the Big 12 in the college football playoff, unless they give the advantage to Utah at 10-2 that gets held out of the championship game, and maybe they slide in there in that 11 seed.
So what, K-State? So do you have K-State beating OK State twice this year?
I believe so. Yes, because I have OK State beating Utah and losing to K-State and W.
That game is, God, there's some banger games right off the bat. I mean, Utah, Oklahoma State, September 21st. We all have that as our top 3, and then K-State, OK State the following weekend. So we may know the tiebreakers right off the bat if it kind of goes chalk a little bit. I got K-State winning in Manhattan. Rematch. Gundy wins the Big 12 title. Into the bye. Texas and Oklahoma missed the playoff. Gundy. They got to watch Gundy get a bye. And K-State, here's the other angle, because I got them 11-1. K-State wins a playoff game because they lose the Big 12 title game. So I actually ended up with 2 in
that situation makes
scenario.
Sense.
So
yeah,
I kind of like TCU 2 years ago where they lost the Big 12 title game. I think it resets them. They get in. They may even host a home game if they're 11-1. Although I guess that would be the second loss. We'll see. It's still up in the air how they're going to treat these conference championship game losers, whether you're actually penalized. Something tells me our champion runner-up will be penalized. The SEC and Big Ten won't be penalized, but that's for a different conversation. Any Heisman stuff you want to throw out there, Troy?
I feel like if Ollie seems like the obvious one, but I feel like Avery Johnson might be one that you want to take a shot on. I know he's getting a lot of hype because when you use him in the new video game, he's faster than everybody else. So it's like playing with Mike Vick in Madden 2004. You just run around in circles and no one can catch up to you. I don't know if that's super realistic. But another long shot, I would still stick with Noah Fafita and Tad McMillan. I think both of those guys, there's a chance that in the Big 12, you have a wide receiver that puts up some pretty big numbers for Arizona and maybe gets invited. But yeah, the more that I look at this, the more that I get scared that there's definitely only going to be one Big 12 team that makes this 12-team playoff. Our quality loss for the conference championship will not be rated as high as the quality loss in the Big 10 and the SEC. Sadly, you can pretty much bank on that.
Rush, if the one-loss team loses, do you think they get in? I think if it's one loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's like a rematch or something, or depending on how close that is. Absolutely. Okay, I'll say this. A 2-loss Big 12 team that includes the Big 12 championship as their second loss can absolutely get into the playoff. 100%. It's going to have to be maybe a right storm, but it is amazing the bias against the Big 12. I will say that there's a lot of season left. I understand that, but Florida State losing to Georgia Tech was actually big for the Big 12.
Oh yeah, Florida State's going to lose some more games. They
will, but that's, a lot of people have 2 ACC teams getting in there, and Florida State being one of them, which I think the Big 12 should absolutely be at leading the conversation and getting 2 teams over the ACC. Like, that's ridiculous.
The funny thing is that Florida State controls their destiny more than they did last year when they won every game that they were scheduled to play.
Of course.
What if you have 2 10-2 teams in there?
No.
That's what scares me. I think the third loss would be. I think your best bet would be to have 3 10-2 teams, and whoever doesn't. If you have 3 10-2 teams, whoever doesn't play has a better shot at getting in.
I agree with that.
Loses.
What if Penn State has 3 losses and they're not playing in their Big 10 title game?
Well,
and one of their losses in Morgantown.
Then there's a serious conversation there. That's why these non-cons are very important. This is a big, not just because we're West Virginia fans, but West Virginia, Penn State has big playoff implications. That I know it's week 1. I know it's, we're biased. Obviously, the flags are behind me, but that's serious. Not enough people are talking about the playoff implications behind that game. Because even if it's not West Virginia, it's the other Big 12 teams too that could beat West Virginia, and then they beat Penn. That whole scenario.
Yeah, if you're K-State or Utah or like Oklahoma State, and you think you're going to go around 10-2, like you're rooting like hell for West Virginia to beat Penn State, because then they're probably going to lose to Ohio State and Michigan like they always do, and they finish 9-3. Then you have the argument, hey, they lost to a Big 12 school as your third loss. So it's a big game for the Big 12 this weekend. Is there another game on the schedule that pops that has implications like that? I mean, Oklahoma State can't lose to Arkansas. Well, that's kind of a can't lose game.
So, it just specifically in the Big 12 or a matchup?
In the Big 12, like the Oklahoma State can't lose to Arkansas. That's one where I'm like, Gundy, you can't lose to a bottom tier SEC team.
I just have to make note of one more non-Big 12 game that can help the Big 12 is this Texas A&M Notre Dame game, because Notre Dame doesn't have a conference.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame losing is a very good thing for the Big 12. I just wanted to make that footnote.
None of that matters. Notre Dame is going to get the 5 seed no matter what.
Well, I mean,
Notre Dame have 4 losses.
Yeah, but if you look at their schedule and they have 4 losses, then Notre Dame really had something go wrong. The ex-athletic director for Notre Dame was a part of creating the college football playoff. So Notre Dame will never be able to get a bye because they'll never win a conference, but they will always get a home playoff game against the group of 5 team every single time that they make the playoff.
You're probably right. I'm just saying.
And not just that, in the next round, they will not have to play any of the top seeds, like 1, 2, or 3. They're always going to get the best group of 5 team and probably the Big 12 team at the 4 seed, or like an ACC team if they're weak at the 4 seed. they basically get waltzed to the semifinals if they can make the college football playoff any year that Notre Dame gets in, which is kind of nuts. But yes, it would still, if they were to lose an unexpected game, it would definitely help out.
One other game this weekend for the ACC's hopes. Miami's supposed to win the league. They better not lose at Florida. Florida's supposed to be a bottom half of the SEC team, and I kind of think Florida is going to win in the Swamp. So, same logic as Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State cannot lose that game to Arkansas. That would be an absolute killer. Or Utah can't lose to Utah State or whoever they got. So those are the ones that really come to mind. K-State doesn't really have a marquee game. TCU can't lay an egg on Friday against Stanford. That would be a kind of a big blow to the league if TCU goes to Stanford where there's no fans and loses that game. Trying to think, Arizona State. I mean, they're going to be a bottom tier team. BYU, they don't really move the needle. Iowa State and Iowa's a big game for tiebreaker implications. Iowa potentially is a 10-2 team, so that's another one. Texas Tech's got a big one in Pullman. That would be one. It would be nice to get that one as well. Kansas can't fucking lose at Illinois. That would be a bad loss.
or UNLV. Like they have to win both of those non-con games, and Kansas has to be pretty good this year for the rest of the Big 12 to get any kind of hype respect, because even if Jalen gets hurt and they're not that great, it's going to be the we've seen this story before. Kansas is supposed to be good and they're not even that great, and the whole Big 12, the only reason why they won so many games is the Big 12 is weak. I know they beat Illinois last year, but going on the road now and then having UNLV that, you wouldn't see that as like a super threatening game if it was standing alone and you only had to play one game. But in the middle of a schedule, that seems like it could be a sleepy spot. And if that were to occur, that would really hurt the Big 12's chances.
And West Virginia can't lose to Pitt. That's the other one that's a big one for the league. So, all right, guys, we're here. We'll be back on Thursday to break down week 1. I'm on Oklahoma State. Troy's on K-State. Rush is on – did you pick K-State or Utah? I forget.
No, I didn't pick Utah, Kansas State. But I said they both make it.
I don't know. I was like, wait, did he pick Utah? But, yeah, they're both on K-State. I'm on K-State. Oh, most importantly, hopefully we get 2 bids in here. Troy, what you got going on before we get up on out of here, man?
Hopefully not watching Dylan Cruz go 0 for 4 again. That was saddening. But yeah, we'll see. The ballpark was as full as it's been since the 4th of July, and it was not Nats fans. Let's just say that. Huge Let's Go Yankees chants on the way out of the stadium last night, like nonstop.
That's not surprising, unfortunately.
No.
But Rush, what we got?
A lot of Ryan and Rush show stuff. Go follow us, that show over there on YouTube. It's here. Most wonderful time of the year. So happy. Week 1 lines come out Thursday, boys. It's going to be a great show. Appreciate all your support, everyone. Even if you do hate our picks, we still appreciate the support.
Yeah, we got Big 12 action on Thursday. Colorado's got North Dakota State, and Utah's in action as well as UCF. We'll preview those games and the Friday game with TCU at Stanford. And, of course, West Virginia at Penn State and all the other Big 12 action on Thursday. He's at Troy Chewning. He's at Rambling Rush. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience. And we are out of here. Go Big 12.